video we're going to go over utility software. In the description below I'll put the links to the different sections so you can skip to whatever bit you need. Utility software helps to maintain or configure a computer system. Computers need to be maintained so that they work properly, and they need to be configured so that they can perform the tasks correctly. Defragmentation software scans magnetic hard drives for fragmented files and puts them back together. The free space is collected, allowing the disk to read-write faster. Every single time you create and save a file onto secondary storage, it is saved into different storage slots. Hopefully these slots are all next to each other, but over time, as you delete files and then create new files, these storage slots might end up not being all together. They're fragmented across the whole of the drive in little sections. So any new files that are created, instead of being saved all together, are saved in parts. What defragmentation does is it collects all the parts of the files together and saves them next to each other. This speeds up the process of reading the hard drive because magnetic hard disks spin with a little spindle that reads the data from them. If the data is spread across the hard drive, the disk's going to have to be spinning a lot and it's going to have to be searching for the different sections of the files. This problem doesn't occur with solid-state hard drives because they don't have any moving parts. So you shouldn't defragment a solid-state drive because this isn't going to affect the speed. The second type of utility software is called compression. Compression software reduces the size of a file. This data can either be removed permanently, as with lossy compression, or temporarily through lossless compression. The reason why people compress files is to create more storage space. So by compressing files, you are making the size that the file takes up on the secondary storage disk smaller. Files can be compressed individually, or you can compress a number of files together in a folder. If you compress a lot of files together in a folder, they need to be uncompressed or unzipped before you can use them. Encryption software scrambles data so third parties can't access it. This data can only be unencrypted or read using a specific key. This key turns the scrambled data back into its original form. If hackers manage to get hold of this data, it's not going to make any sense to them because it's going to be a random collection of letters or numbers. If you're entering data on a website, you need to make sure that the website address starts with HTTPS. The S stands for secure, and what this means is that the data will be encrypted before it is sent across the internet. If you're entering data on a website that just starts with HTTP, it's not secure, so the data won't be encrypted. This means it is vulnerable to people intercepting the data and stealing it. There's another type of utility software that's unlikely to come up on your exam, but it's important to touch on. This is called backup. Backups are a copy of files and system settings which are stored externally. There are two ways that you can carry out a backup. The first is to do a full backup. This takes a copy of every single file on the computer system and makes a second copy of it. The other type of backup is incremental backups. Incremental backups will make a copy of any files that have been created or changed since the last time a backup was created. There are advantages and disadvantages of both methods. Creating a full backup will take up a lot more storage space and it'll be a lot more time consuming, but you're unlikely to have gaps or errors in the data. Incremental backups will be quicker to perform and they'll take up less storage space. Companies normally do a combination of both types of backup. Normally, a full backup will be done maybe once a week, but an incremental backup might be done every single day. The most important thing with a backup though is that it has to be stored somewhere else. If you're making a second copy of the file and then saving it on the same hard drive as the original, there is no point. If that hard drive becomes corrupted, then you've lost both copies. So making a backup was a completely pointless task in the first place. The cloud or optical storage are often used for storing backups. This is because the cloud is on the internet, so it's unlikely that the first copy will be saved in the same spot, and optical discs can be removed from the computer and they're small, lightweight and cheap, so they can be stored somewhere else. This exam question says, the utility system software provides compression software. Xander uses this to compress an image. Explain how the compression software will compress the image file. Now, to answer this question, you need to know what the red definition is, because you need to be able to explain and tell the examiner what compression actually means. Okay, so we need to start the question off by giving the red definition. So compression software reduces the size of the file. We then need to go on to link that back to how actually could Xander compress the file. And there are two ways this could be done. It could be lossy or lossless. You need to pick one way that you think would be best for Xander. Okay, now he's wanting to compress an image, so in your answer you must talk about the fact he is trying to compress the image. So we need to start off by saying either the definition for lossy or lossless, whichever one you are going with, it genuinely doesn't matter. I've chosen to go with lossy. So lossy compression would reduce the size of the image file by permanently removing some of the data from the file. When the file is uncompressed, the data has been removed forever. Okay, so this question, largely speaking, was all about knowing those red definitions and then being able to apply them to the scenario that you have been given.